Hey, welcome to Mando and Friends, presented by Verizon. My name is Mando Fresco, and today we are here with a very special guest, actress, singer-songwriter, influencer, dancer. You do it all, Leli.
A little bit of all. Yeah.
Leli Hernandez is in here. Leli, how are you?
Thank you. I'm doing amazing, and with that introduction, even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to have you. You know, I've seen you kill it on social media for years now.
Yeah.
And you put in the work. You're now like focusing on music.
On music, yeah.
Which is a beautiful thing. So before we go into that, I want to hear a little more about your story.
The beginning.
I know you love the arts.
Yeah.
Right? Like, where did the love for acting, where did the love for music start? We could start with whatever came first.
Well, basically, I feel like a little bit of everything came at the same time. So when I was little, when I was 3 years old, my mom, this is like the original, it's like back when I was 3 years old story. And basically she's diabetic and she passed out, and she kind of like already had trained me for when this moment would come.
Wow.
And it just happened to be that day my dad wasn't home, and when she was on the floor, she had hold on to a chair, whatever. I called 911, told them everything. I could barely speak properly, but in Spanish. I didn't speak English, but I spoke Spanish, and I told them like, oh, my mom, she's pregnant. I put alcohol on her nose and this and that. And like, you know, I became like the hero child, you know,
Wow.
and basically I saved my mom's life, you know, my brother, really. So after that, you know, they did like a whole interview at the house, and they were so surprised because I was only like 3 to 4. And I took the interview for myself, and I was just talking the whole time and then showing them the house. And it was like the news was at my house, you know, doing the whole interview about the whole thing. And, you know, like I barely let my mom talk. Like I was doing everything. I was like, yeah, so I did this, and my brother, he's coming soon, and like the whole thing. So I think they were like shocked about how much charisma I had, and they loved it. So they had asked my mom if I wanted to be part of like Sábado Gigante, which was a show that was for years.
Oh,
you know,
man, that's legendary.
It's a legendary,
yeah.
Exactly, a legendary show that they filmed in Miami, and I lived in Miami. So when I turned like around 5 or 6, you know, that I was a little older, my mom started to put me into like acting and dance classes that were part of Univision.
Wow.
So that's when they picked me to be part of like the little like cast of like the kids. And we would like imitate Paulina Rubio or like different artists that were in the moment and do shows for the show. So that's basically how I started. Thing was that I was very shy. So
you were
like,
shy.
I was very shy. Like I loved it, but I was shy. So the people from the school wondered if I really wanted to do that, or if it was my mom pushing me or whatever. And then I wasn't doing good in school. So my mom took me out of that. But then somehow growing up, like I'd always end up doing something that had to do in the arts, whether it was dancing, acting. I did theater in high school and middle school, cheerleading. So it's like I was always competing or performing or doing something. And family parties, I would put on a whole show, you know, the whole outfit, the wigs and everything. And it's just like, that's
so you loved it
something-
when you were a kid, since you were like a baby almost.
Yeah, basically growing up, that was my thing. And then I had like an imaginary friend I would always talk to and imitate my mom. Like I would imitate everyone. Like that was like my expertise. Like you put like somebody in front of me and I would imitate them. Like that was like, you know, growing up. So it was something that I think we all knew, like as a family, as like that I was gonna do that, because that's something that like I enjoyed, you know. So
do you have footage of the noticiero coming to your house?
So we have a cassette. Like that's all I have, a cassette.
Yeah, so audio.
Where you hear an audio, like from, you know, that's how how far away, you know, how long time ago it was. But we have a cassette with you hearing my voice and me talking, and you could tell that I was so like, you know, like I had so much, because even in the, you know, in the audio, you hear me like talking about like, so this happened and my mom, and like I was so animated.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was something that like, you know, but I don't have videos, and which is so frustrating for me, because I always try to look, but we've moved so much, and my parents had me really young. So like they're young. My mom had me at 17. So mind you, like she's young with like a 3-4 year old, whatever, like, you know, they barely, I think I have cousins or uncles that had filmed me, but we're still trying to like backtrack those videos. But I did grow up, and then when the Cheetah Girls were in, me and my cousins would put on that show. So I did grow up very much in the arts, you know, and my mom had a TV show when I was like around like 11 years old because she was a TV host.
Oh, she was?
Yeah.
So it was already like in you to
Kinda. So my
do that.
mom really didn't have the ability to do it because she came from DR when she was like 16 and then had me super young. And my parents, you know, they moved to Miami from New Jersey, and my mom tried to like do her own thing, but she had like a prepaid program like that you had like in Comcast or whatever.
Yeah.
So she had to get her own sponsors. She had to produce the show. She had different segments. She had like a 30-minute show, and she had to fill it up with like Turismo con Wilma, and you know, and then had like the restaurant scene or like the farandula, and like she had all these type of things, you know, and I grew up seeing her. So I was very shy, and my mom, like growing up, I would see her all the time, and I always would think like, oh, I can never do that. Like I don't have like, I can only stick to acting because it's a script and whatever, but I don't have the charisma. Like, because my mom the cameras would turn on and she'd be on 100, like all this energy. Funny thing is that through time, I became like that, and I didn't even realize. Like it just was something in me, and it was weird because my mom always said, I was like, it's so weird, like off the camera, you're super shy, very quiet. You're like, you don't speak. I'm a very observant. But the moment the cameras came on, is like, that's it. I was transformed.
Yeah.
I was like in character, or like just ready, like for whatever. So
do you feel like that's still the case today? Like you were introverted then, you would say?
yeah, I think so.
Do you feel like you're introverted now?
I think it's a mix of both.
Okay.
And I think after the pandemic, I would say I became like a little bit of both, you know, like I guess it just depends the energy in the room or the people I'm around, or if I know what I'm doing, like, or not. I guess like insecurity is what makes me feel shy, or like, you know, when I feel insecure, I don't know what's going on, or I don't know certain people or whatever, then I can be very like introvert and quiet, you know, but then when I feel like I know what I'm doing, or, you know, I'm secure of like what's going on, then I'm like, okay, this is, you know, but I think it just depends. I don't know. I think it just depends on the situation or like the people. I don't know. I think it's just, I don't know. I still don't know. I haven't figured out what is it that's going to,
it's loading,
you know?
It's loading.
But for the most part, when it comes to work, I'm always kind of like outgoing, but I think it's because I know what I want, and, you know, and like, and it's been so much experiences of like, this is where I'm going to go into coming to LA. So right after high school, I decided, I was like, okay, I need to pursue what I want to do. I want to act. I want to move to LA. Obviously, growing up, you know that LA is like the place to come. So I sold my car, and I was like, we're leaving, you know, and my mom in that time was like, okay, I'll come with you, settle you in. You know, I was 17 going on 18. Like, she just felt like it wasn't safe for me to be coming out here alone. But she came, and after a couple months, you know, that I was a little settled in, I got a job as an intern on a production company, and that kind of opened the doors for me in the industry and kind of like learn a little bit about it. I went to school for entertainment business out here at Los Angeles Film School.
Nice.
So I kind of just was like, I don't know exactly what direction I'm moving in. I know this is what I want to do. But once I got here, I realized like it was so cliche to say I want to be an actress, because everyone is out here like trying to be an actress or a singer or something. And I was like, oh, I want to sound smarter. I want to sound like I know what I'm doing. So I went more the business aspect and more production, because I also felt like I want to know everything, you know, and it was funny because 6 months in, this story I don't think I've ever told anyone, but I lived in Century City, and I lived maybe 2 blocks away from Avenue of the Stars. And all I know is it was a Saturday morning, and I see like helicopters and like whatever, and the streets are closed, and there's like these yellow signs. Everyone in LA knows that when there's those yellow signs, they're filming something. But see, I was new here, so I didn't know that. So then I see this thing that says crew parking or whatever, and I told my mom, I was like, I think they're filming there, like how cool and whatever. So one day we walked, obviously in the car, we couldn't pass by, and we're walking, and I see like they were like burning a Maserati or something, and I was like, this has to be a big production, whatever. I was like, how cool? Okay, cool. The next morning, I wake up at 6 a.m. and I'm getting ready, and my mom's like, where are you going? And I was like, I'm going to go to the set. And she goes, what do you mean? Like, I was like, it's 2 blocks away. If they turn me down, I'll come back. Like, I'm right there, whatever. I was like, if anything, you know what? You drop me off, and like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So mind you, I was 18, and I had never been on a set, and I don't know how this thing works, you know? So I'm just here like, I mean, I can be an extra. Like, how hard could that be? Like, I just go, whatever. I didn't know that there was like a whole agency of extras and that you have to be like, get picked and all this stuff. I have no idea what I'm doing. And I didn't know anyone here either. So it's not like I can ask, you know? So whatever. So I go in there, I'm wearing heels and I'm wearing like jeans, whatever. And I go in there and I go to like one of the production people and they're like, oh, what are you here for? Like, you're late. Mind you, it was 8 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, oh, I'm part of the extras. And she's like, call time was at 6 a.m. And I was like, oh, it's just that I came from Miami and like, it was really like I got lost and whatever. So they take me into like this little, I guess, where like for wardrobe or whatever. And the lady's by herself. And I could tell that she speaks Spanish. So I was like, oh, this is my moment. Like this is where I have to like aprovechar that I know Spanish and talk to her. So I talked to her in Spanish and then, you know, she's like, oh, how cool. Like there's not that many people that speak Spanish and whatever. And she was super nice. So she directs me to wardrobe because she's like, oh, you don't like, you need to go to wardrobe. So the thing was that the movie that they were, I still don't even know what movie it was because you know how sometimes they name like a different title and then it comes out as something different. Yep. So I guess it was something like the end of the world because everyone was like either like I guess it was like a blow up scene or something. Yeah. And everyone was like had blood everywhere or like their clothes was like dirty or like some people were like in suits, like they came up from work, whatever. So she sends me to wardrobe and they're like painting me and like making all this stuff. And I'm living the dream. I'm like, this is so dope. Like no one's going to believe that I literally snuck into a set basically. Yeah. And like, I'm an extra. Well, funny thing was, see now I'm in here. Now I'm like, oh, I want people to notice that I'm here. So I'm going to do the most. So there was like a little wall. When the scene started, there was like the cameras were here, whatever. There was an ambulance. So I already could tell that was like a main scene. I see the cameras are literally full. So I'm like, well, if the camera's here, I'm gonna stand here because I want to be seen. So there was like this thing, and I guess obviously there's extras, but then there's stunt doubles and there's whatever. Yeah. So I'm seeing people jumping from like one staircase to another and doing all this crazy stuff. I used to be a cheerleader, and I love like doing like stunts and whatever because that's what I used to do in high school. So I'm like, oh, this is my moment to shine. I was like, okay, cool. I'm here not thinking like this is a job. Like this is what people get hired to do. You know, like I can't just do it on go, like, you know. But I did it. So whatever, cameras start, they place me here, whatever. Yeah. I jump, like this was the first time that I was like behind the wall, right? The moment they yelled action, I jumped from the side of like a hill, like I ran from it. I got on top of the wall and I jumped from the wall. And honestly, it wasn't even on purpose, but when I landed, I kind of fell, but I rolled over. It looked so dope that every time they kept like saying like back to reset, they would tell me like, okay, so do that again, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, are you serious? My spontaneous roll just made the cut. And then when we're at lunch, one of the directors comes and is like, oh, what part of, are you SAG? Are you this? I had no idea what SAG was. So I'm like, am I SAG? And I'm like, no, because I didn't know what that was. Yeah. I was like, I'm not sure what that is, like whatever. And he goes, oh, what agency are you with? And luckily I had already talked to some of the people like there because at this point I wanted to know how did they get there, you know? Right. So I was like, so that's when they told me what agency they were with and whatever. So I was like, I'm with whatever, you know, like I said, I forgot what I had said in the moment. They gave me everything. I ended up getting paid. Because then they had overtime. So I got paid overtime, got to be in the scene. I have no idea where it came out. I don't even know if it came out, but like whatever. So bottom line is that story, that experience got me into like being an extra and doing the whole thing. So, and for me, that probably has been like the best day of my life because I was like, I really just went in there into a set, did my thing. I was so happy to just be there. You know, I met so many people. And really after that, it was just like, that was like what made me kind of like do a lot of things. It was like the hustle, like while I was here. And even I haven't been in LA in a while. So now coming back, it just brings me back those memories. And like, it was always like, I would not say no to anything. I would overbook myself. And LA is big and traffic is crazy. Yet I would do 3 to 4 things a day. And it was like, we're doing this. And I'm like, I'm there. Like, we need this. Sometimes I'd have to be like, I'm so sorry. I'm going to be super late or I have to cancel whatever. Because obviously, things would take longer or whatever it is. But really, I lasted 7 years here. And in those 7 years, it was like every moment, every opportunity, like I would take it. Like I was like, I'm there. And it didn't matter if I was getting paid or not. Because for me, it was like, I'm on the grind. Like, I don't care. I'm going to do something, And
that story is crazy. I
To this
love
day, I don't
that.
even think,
I love that
I don't
so
even think
much.
those people even know that was like, because I never told anyone. I was like, I don't want to get in trouble. But I feel like comfortable saying it now because it was a really long time ago. But
Wow, that is
Yeah.
like the ultimate spirit of a go-getter.
yeah,
For you
and
to
you know
just, like-
what? Saying it now, I miss that. I think sometimes people make it more when they're hungry, and that's why it's so important to stay hungry. You know, because when you stay like when you feel like you reach a certain point that you get comfortable, you're like,
Yeah.
okay, cool, I'm good now, and it's like that's what kind of gets people to keep on going because you're so like, you know, and you don't really care. You don't care if they reject you or the outcome. Like you're just there for whatever. And honestly, in every place I've been to, every opportunity, I feel like that's why you have to just go because you have no idea who you're gonna meet, what opportunity is gonna come from that. Like you just never know. And really, that's kind of like how even social media came about.
Yeah.
You know, like
yeah.
when I got into influencing, it was all because one of my friends from Miami didn't have a place to stay. And I was working at the production company as an assistant. And, you know, I would always see the social media thing, but it wasn't like how it is now that people like really make money off of it and people can make a career out of it. But in the time that I knew about it or when it was like a thing starting.
Yeah, because you started as it was like exploding. Like
Yeah, as it was starting. Yeah.
you were even with like Vine. I remember seeing you
Yeah.
like in Vine and,
Yeah.
and doing like skits and these
Exactly.
like
Yeah.
comedic show like
Series. Yeah.
series that you would do on there and on Instagram, and then Instagram started doing like a video,
Yeah.
right? And then you jumped on that too.
Yeah.
And so go ahead. Yeah, I remember seeing you in all that.
So I was really on top of all of that, but really it was because after, you know, I kind of grew a little bit in the production. Like I felt like I already knew everything I could learn already, unless either it could be two things in that moment. It was either do I stay here and grow in the company or do I go do my own thing? And, you know, at the end of the day, I got into like this job, first of all, because I needed a job, number one. And I just felt like if I'm in LA, I had the mindset of I don't want a regular job of like as a waitress or at a store or anything like that, because I just felt like if that was the job that I was going to do, then I might as well have stayed in Miami. So for me, it was like, I want a job that I can learn and that's going to be different, you know, and I thought the production company definitely was something like that. And I was very blessed to have an opportunity like that. So, you know, but after a while, I just felt like, okay, I'm ready to do my thing now, you know, and especially when long hours, you know, were taking so much of me, I was like, okay, now I want to be able to like audition and do my own thing. And, you know, when social media came about, I remember that I had kept meeting people, but I felt like I need to do my own thing so I can get noticed, because the goal wasn't really to be social media famous. For me, the goal was to be noticed by directors and stuff like that. And especially because when I would go to auditions here for agencies, they would be like, oh, we already have someone like you or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, that's the case.
But she ain't me though.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, whatever. Or even if I would go to like a Latin or Hispanic type of agency, they would just like, oh, you have too much of a strong accent, like a Dominican accent. And they wanted me to sound more Mexican. And I was like, well, I want to be authentic. Like there's enough Mexicans. There's already a crowd. Why would I want to take on an accent that is not my own?
Yeah,
you know, like leave it to people that are Mexican, leave it to Argentinians, leave it to Venezuelans that are Venezuelans or Puerto Ricans that are Puerto Ricans. Like I know that when they're looking for a Dominican, then I can fit the category because I have that, you know, so I wanted to be authentic to myself. So I would get very annoyed sometimes when they wanted me to like force my accent to be something different. You know, like if it was for a specific role, I get it. But in LA, they didn't see any other country or accent. They didn't understand it. So I was like, no, I'm going to do my own thing. So that's when like I started searching like directors and people that I want to catch their attention. And Jesse Terrero was one of them because he's Dominican and I'm Dominican American. And I was like, oh, this is like the kind of guy that I got to work with. And, you know, and mind you, I didn't know what projects he had going on, but I just thought, you know what, he's Dominican, he's in LA, he's doing things, you know what, this is someone I have to meet. So I kind of started doing my research of like people I wanted to meet, places I wanted to be, and projects I wanted to be part of. So in reality, it wasn't as easy as I'm making it sound right now. But
you're making it seem like you just Googled and you just figured it all out.
Yeah, no, definitely not. It was a lot of, you know, honestly, Instagram was really like my guide, because I would go on Instagram and I would go from one person and end up in someone's aunt's like Instagram. Like I just kind of like, you know, I really used Instagram to my advantage. I feel like people do that now, but in that moment it wasn't as common, you know? So I just felt like I was just really hustling that part, you know, I just really like That was like my Google in that moment.
I'm gonna pause you real quick because I remember seeing that content that you would create.
Mm-hmm.
And Leli, I'm not just telling you this because you're in front of me right now. I remember thinking, man, like Leli, her acting is so good. And even though you're doing these like, comedic pieces, content for like social where you don't have to like really commit, like you were committed. Like there was a lot of energy. There was a lot. And I was like, man, this girl can act. Like she's good.
Oh, thank you.
So yeah,
I miss it. I'm not gonna lie. I do miss doing those videos, but I guess, and the thing is that in that moment, like I said, like in that moment, I was like, I need to prove that I can do this. Like, I had studied this my whole life. This is all I wanted or still want, and I came out here and it just was like, no one's giving me the opportunity. And then to be honest with you, like one thing about being an extra, at the beginning, it's so cool. You're on these sets and like everything is so amazing. And I mean, I remember when I walked in Paramount for the first time, I was like, wow, like this is where they did like this movie and then this is where they did that. And then I would be in Universal or in Warner, whatever. And I remember like people don't realize how big of a deal it is. When you're in there, it feels big. Yeah. Anything like the sets, like it just all of a sudden it went from a wood wall and all of a sudden there's like a whole house, or like whatever. So it was really cool and living that was really dope. But it also felt because when we were there, it was like the extras get bathroom and food and whatever, and there was days on set that we were cold or hot, depending, what the weather was like, or especially the cold days were the worst because I soy friolenta, like I get cold out of anything. And those 22 hours that we're there and waiting all to be in a scene that you're not even gonna get noticed, it's a lot. And at the end of the day, like at first, like I said, at first it's very cool because you're new and you're out here and you're learning and the grind, whatever, and you're meeting people. But after a while, you're like, oh, when is it gonna be my turn? Like when am I gonna get like a trailer? When am I gonna see my name? And it was a lot of frustration. So really, like that's what made me want to be like on social media and really do and put on my own show, put on my own skits, and
grow your brand,
collab and grow my brand and and create my own characters. Really though, I guess because I wasn't trying to create like a personality on Instagram or like on social media, I just saw it as an opportunity to get into acting the way I wanted. I didn't really go further in that, really, because I felt like once I was doing it, I collabed with all these amazing people who are now my friends and we did amazing things. But social media also, like, I feel like it reaches its moment too, because now it's shifted. Like now it's more TikTok, it's more dances, it's quicker. It's not as much as like how before we would literally put a production. People have no idea how much it actually took to do those skits. Like, we would have the lights, we would have the camera, we would literally have a day that we would plan these skits, write it out, have an actual like mini script, and really follow that. And people just thought, oh, it's just a 1 minute skit or it's a 30-second, but no one realized that we all really put a lot of effort and time into it. And it did open doors for all of us. Like a lot of my friends are now doing, movies or shows or have their own podcasts or doing music or, so everyone kind of ventured in their own way. So it was definitely like a way to open doors for all of us. I would think, especially for me, like it really helped.
So you were within a group of influencers that are some of the biggest influencers in the industry in that realm, in that circle of entertainment. I'm always curious, like how does one enter a circle like that? I'm sure you and your friends and that circle that you would create with, it's a tight knit circle. Like I'm sure there's a bunch of other creators that are like, oh, we want to collab with them, but like how did that work for you?
For me, is that this is the thing. Like when I was working in production, I had actually met. This is actually a funny story. I also have never said it to anyone, but I feel comfortable saying it. So when I first
please more of those.
When I first moved here, I didn't know what Tinder was, right? So I go on Tinder and I literally had put girls and guys because I wanted to make friends. I had no way to make friends. And I met this guy on Tinder who obviously when I met, he probably liked me and it was on some other, but then we became friends, and he actually was friends with like the group of like Jerry Perp Drank and Max, and which were in that moment like Instagrammers or Viners, you know. But I didn't really know much about them, and I became friends with them. So one of them introduced me to the guy that I'm saying that was my friend, Dominican, that moved from Miami, had no place to stay, and I let him stay on my couch for a couple of weeks, whatever. And since he was Dominican, I'm Dominican, we told everybody we were cousins, and people bought it, whatever, which was Tonio Skids.
Okay.
Tonio Skids was the one that was telling me, because when I was working at a production company, he's like, I feel like you, like, because I told him, I was like, I want to be an actress or whatever. And he was like, I feel like if you do these skits, like you could really like succeed. Like, I think you'd be really good at it. And I was like, yeah, but I just feel like all these girls you guys use in these videos, it's like, oh, because of big butt or like whatever, or very sexy. And I don't want to be looked like that. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't think that would work for me. I want to act. And he's like, well, why don't we create like some type of scenario where like you can really showcase your acting? So he was the one that really kind of got me into it. In that moment, he had like maybe 120,000 followers or whatever. But the guys that I had met, my friends, the other Jerry Perp Drank and Max, and all these people, they had like 1 million or like 800,000 at the moment. Yeah. And they're like, oh, so you'll do videos with them and you won't do, because they wanted to do videos with me. And I was like, the thing is that you guys do these videos where they make the girls look so sexy, whatever. Yeah. And I'm just not gonna do it. And then he's like, well, what do you want to do? And they were so open to like allowing me to be creative. So we did videos, and I'm not gonna lie, like it was it took 2 videos or 3 videos for me to go viral. Like I went from 2,000 followers to 10K in like a week. Wow. And then after that, it was like, all of a sudden, Lele Pons calls Tonio, was like, I need Latin girls for my video. We come to her house, and it was like 20 girls, you know, and 20, like we were all Latin, right? But in that moment, I had already like done videos with like King Batch because of Tonio as well, because Tonio, Batch had an idea and he needed a Latin girl. And in LA, in that moment especially, there wasn't that many Latin girls. And then I was Latin, but I was like very like I had the attitude and the whatever. So it's like, it really caught their attention. So they're like, oh, we need that girl. So it was like, I kind of, without realizing, because I didn't plan that, but without realizing, I almost made like a character of like that very spicy, like very like attitude driven, you know, Latin girl. And I guess like it worked for any, like now it was like, they were creating ideas that I could be part of. It wasn't even like, I have an idea, I just need a girl. No, it was like, I need to do this idea with Leli. Like it was like one of those things. So when I met Lele, it was funny because the first day we meet, she's like, oh, so you're the other Leli, because she's Lele and I'm Leli. Oh, yeah. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm the other? So she's like, I keep hearing about you. Like everyone's talking about you, whatever. And honestly, I think for me, it was just like, I was everywhere. I was hanging out with everyone. And like I said, it was the yes factor. It was like yes to everything. Like every time someone needed me for a video, I'll be there. And I would like literally like always be available. Really, that's what it was when it came to that, because I was everywhere. In one day, I would shoot with Lele, then shoot with Tonio, then Batch, then they storm, then this one, whatever. So every day I was just constantly. And now you're just popping up on different feeds. Exactly. So now even with the following, I feel like my following grew so drastic too, was because it's like you kept seeing me everywhere. Yeah. And it's like artists, it's like when you start hearing about them once, you know, they could probably hear about one's cool. But once they start hearing about you everywhere, then you're like, oh really? Wait, who is this art? You know, and then you're interested because it's like, you're hearing about them everywhere or seeing them everywhere. So for me, it was really that, you know, it was like just being everywhere all the time. And really like, I consider myself really outgoing. so it was really like, I created a friendship. It was never like, oh, I want to collab with this person. I honestly feel like it was like, I would go there not thinking like, oh, like what can I get out of this? Or like, how many followers can I gain today? Or like, how much, like, is this video gonna go viral or not? Like, I was honestly having fun. I was 19, 20, like in LA, you know, like meeting cool people. We were all the same age. We're all the same age, basically. Yeah. I mean, for the most part, I was probably one of the youngest. Me and Lele are one of the youngest, but we were all like, you know, around the same age. And it was just fun, you know, and it is fun. Like, it's just like, we're hanging out with friends and coming up with ideas. Like even me and Lele now will hang out, because now Lele moved back to Miami as well. Oh, nice. And we hang out, and like literally I would just be like, let's just go to the pool. And all of a sudden she's like, oh, I have this idea, let's do this. You know, so it's like, I don't know. It just never felt like work, or it felt like we have to create content. Because I think when you do that, it feels forced and people don't really like relate. And I feel like what made us like popular, I guess, was because we were relatable. Yeah. We were coming up with skits that really happened. Like I was with my family, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, this would be such a good video. Like I need to write this down or whatever. So it was really about that. You know, it was just being authentic, having fun while we were doing what we liked, you know, and then entertaining people. Yeah. So once it became like work, that's when it wasn't fun anymore. And that's when like a lot of people just kind of went their own way because it's just like, it's not fun anymore. You know, it was like, whatever. So.
And it has shifted a lot.
It has.
It has shifted a lot. Yeah, like, you know, you don't even think about those transitions. You just think about like social media being social, you know, you're just watching videos. But yeah, I went from like doing like almost like a full production, skits, like series.
Yeah.
To now it's completely different.
It actually is funny because at first it was just the phone. You know, I remember I came into the time where like everyone was shooting everything on their phones.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll have a light or just good lighting, whatever. But then we became a little more like, okay, now we want to more production. Yeah. Everyone was making money too. So like that helped, you know, getting the right equipment.
Yeah.
And obviously that really inspired more brands as well, because obviously as things progressed and everyone was kind of doing their thing and there's so much numbers, I feel like that's when brands started catching on. And then now it's like, you know, sponsor this or Verizon or this or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So I think, you know, once brands started coming, like wanting to offer like, oh, we'll offer you 30,000 for this video. We're like, oh, wait, okay. So now maybe I should like really like work on this, like production, making it seem more professional, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's funny because now I went back to the original. Like now everyone's doing it on their phones.
Yeah.
You know,
well, so it's funny because, and I don't know if we've talked about this on the show, but I've definitely talked to it within our team and you know, peers that are in the industry. But like when people shoot on, you know, 6K cameras,
they don't do as well.
They don't do as well.
They don't. We've studied it too.
Like why do you think that is? Like,
I think it's because I think it's the beauty in authenticity. Again, it's like if you make it seem like an everyday thing, then it's like people relate to you more.
More related, it's more relatability, yeah.
You know, it's more relatable. So I think that's what it is. And people nowadays, like, I mean, think about it. People barely watch TV. Like, I guess during the pandemic, yes, people, you know, watched, you know, their series and this and that. But overall, like, we're on our phones 24/7. Like,
yeah.
So I don't know. I just feel like I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I think it is relatability. I think it is the fact that people can just connect and it feels like, oh, I can shoot something like that too, you know. But the minute you shoot something super high res, it's almost too commercial.
It seems played out, like, or it seems like it's rehearsed. I think that's what it is, because like, and you know what, even for us too, like when there was a production, like an actual camera and lights and whatever, even we wouldn't even come out as authentic either, because we're like, okay, we have to like, how do I look? How does this look? How does, you know, or let's do it again or whatever. But when it was on our phone, it was like spontaneous. It was like, okay, this is what we're doing. All right, let's do it. You know, and it was just like, whatever. So,
and it's gone back to that. It's gone back
and it has gone back to that. Exactly.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
What do you like about, what do you like? I'm gonna ask you what you don't like, and I'm gonna ask you what you do like about social media. What do you say is your favorite thing about social?
Well, for me, obviously, I think it was just how many opportunities I've been able to, you know, get out of it thanks to it.
Yeah.
And really, like, I guess while I'm working on other things or other projects, I'm still able to make money and do my own, you know, and showcase my talent and what I want to say or what I want to do. It's a way to express myself, you know, in a way that I probably wouldn't be able to do, you know. Yeah. My goal in general has always been able to inspire and talk and connect with people. And I think that's exactly what social media has been for me, you know, because like, I don't think I ever created, like, especially my following, I don't even think, I mean, yes, it could be a little bit of the skits and the dancing or whatever it was, because I did a little bit of everything. But really what I feel that made me connect with my audience was when I would talk about real stuff, like, you know, things that I was going through, or, you know, I remember when I was working at a production company, you know, I remember talking about it in the moment, and now I can apply it for myself. And that basically, I remember saying, like, it doesn't matter where you are in life, like what you're doing, like, just know that this is just a process to get where you want to, you know, where you want to be. And even right now, like, I apply that to what I'm doing now, you know, it's just part of the process. And I think, like, when I would talk about stuff like that and I would be vulnerable and sometimes cry and express like my frustrations, whatever, I feel like that's when I connected more to people. So like, for me, I think that's the pro, you know. The con, like what I don't like, I just feel like people are so unapologetic and people just say what, like, they will be very negative sometimes, and they will just quickly cancel you for things that they probably would do themselves too.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like people don't realize, like, people make mistakes, and, you know, and I just feel like on the internet, I don't know, like, I guess that screen, like, division makes people not realize you're human too.
Yeah.
You know, and that part I don't like, because, you know, any little thing that you can do, just cancel, the cancel culture, like, especially now, like, everything, people are very sensitive about anything, and you can't say something because people will switch it up. And at the end of the day, it's like something that I had heard from Gary V, right?
Yeah, Gary V. Vanderchuck.
He's like, yeah, he's like, people are judging you by only 30 seconds of something that you chose to show them. Like, people don't really know you.
Yeah.
So how can, and you know, I've struggled to, like, sometimes apply that to myself, because I'm like, I can't take anything that someone is saying negative about me personal, because they don't know me. They only know whatever I chose to show them or whatever they happen to see that day. And I'm not going to be my best self every single day. You know? So it's like, it's a little tricky. So that part, and I think that's just part of being out there, you know, when you put yourself out there, that's something that just comes with it. And I'm learning now, because I've never been like the person that, like, someone didn't like. Like, I always had friends. I was never popular. And I know my friends from high school were like, you weren't popular. I was just a person that, it wasn't that I was popular. I was just friends with everyone.
Yeah.
I didn't have like a little, like, the popular group, you know, or like, no, I was just cool with everyone. It didn't matter. It could be the nerdiest person to the most popular person. Like, I was just cool with everyone. I was always goofy. I was always nice. I was like, you know, so for me, when someone doesn't like me, I'm like, why? Like, you know what I mean? So that kind of, it makes me feel like, what did I do? You know, but, you know, with time, and as I grow older, and as I grow in what I do and whatever, I realize that some people just don't like you for just the simple fact of what you are, or who you are, or how you are, you know? So I'm like, I've had to learn to understand that. But that's, I think, the one thing that I don't like about, you know, social media, or just in general, being like out to the public, you know, to be able to people to, like, have an opinion about you and everything you do. Like, that's the only thing that I probably don't like.
I remember, and I'm gonna misquote this, possibly horribly, but I remember someone saying that there are, you know, oranges, different types of fruits, like oranges, bananas, apples, and some people just don't like apples, right? Like, it's not, I don't know, it's just,
that's a
maybe
good
that was
dynamic.
a bad apple, or they just don't like
Just
apples.
don't like
and it's like nothing against apples. Apples are awesome, right?
It's kind of like, I don't like whole apples. I like diced apples. Like, I don't know why. I just feel like I'm gonna break a tooth if I just, like, eat an apple. You know, like, I want to slice
that
it.
crunches,
so I get it. I get it.
Yeah, and you know, I can relate to the whole likability thing. Like, I'm very hard on myself when someone feels a certain way about me, and I'm like, but why? Like, I didn't do anything to them, you know? And you feel, it feels heavy.
Yeah.
It feels heavy. How have you, you know, dealt or worked through that?
Well, look, you know, before, I don't think I ever cared before, you know? And I think as I got older, you know how they say, like, kids are so carefree and they do whatever they want. And that's why when they're little, like, you see them, they outspoken and they talk, and they're not, you know, they're not shy. And as they grow older, they become shy, they become insecure, they close in. But it's really because they probably experience judgment or bullying or some type of thing. Now that's what makes them afraid to be themselves, right? Yeah. So I feel like for me, as I got older, I've gotten afraid to be myself because of that, you know, to being judged or saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing. But really, what I've gotten to come to, like, notice now is, like, there is no right or wrong, you know? And at the end of the day, people are going to talk no matter what, whether you do right or you do wrong. Like, it doesn't matter. And at the end, like you said, like, we're not going to be likable to everyone. Like, there's things that I don't like. There's people that I don't like. So why can I not like, why cannot someone not like me? You know, and that's okay. Like, I've had to come to terms with who I am, what I believe in. And honestly, at the end of the day, how I feel is, if I have the right intentions with anyone, I did right by people and I stand by who I am and what I do, then why should I care what anyone, you know, says about me or thinks about me? Like, that's on them. That has nothing to do, you know, with me. And at the end of the day, like, everyone, like my mom says, cada cabeza un mundo. Like, every person has a whole different mindset, a way they grow up, a way they are. And like I said, I can't force the situation or force people to like me. Like, so to me, it's just kind of like knowing myself more, being grounded, being around people that do support, like me. And that's really what kind of keeps me like on that positive state, even though we're all hard on ourselves. Like anyone that says that they're not are lying. We have our days, and I'm not like the most positive person every day, whatever, but I try to be, because at the end of the day, like in this kind of career, especially, we get rejected daily, you know, and we have to be very secure of who we are. And me doing my own projects and having to cast people or wanting people to be part of my project, I've had to be the hard one and say, that person's not going to be good for my project, but it has nothing to do with that person.
Right.
It has nothing to do with their talent or that they're not good enough or that they're trash.
It could be a look thing.
It could be a look. It could be a hair color. It could be the way they say certain things or their accent or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So why would I, as an actress or a singer now, or whatever, gonna get offended when someone doesn't like what I do? As an
astronaut, I mean, what aren't you doing nowadays?
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, there's so many hyphens to you.
Yeah, I can't stay still. I like doing. You know what it is? And now you're gonna think I'm crazy, because now I want to get into gaming too, like on my free time. So like, I want to do. I love experimenting things. I'm very like, I grew up. I'm like a girly tomboy, because I like things that like, I don't know.
Like girly things, and
then I like
tomboy.
like I like things that guys do. Like I don't know. Like I am very diverse, but I can't be still. That's one thing. Like I have to always be doing something. That's
what kind of games are you thinking of playing?
I don't know yet, but I'm really good at Mortal Kombat. But then again, I don't know how I'm good. Let me just say, like, I don't know how I'm good, but I always win. And I think it's just because I start pressing everything and I'm like, okay. And I get really into it, and I don't like losing. So I think that's what it is. And then dance videos, of course. Dance games. So
nice.
We'll see.
You have your own Twitch channel? Or not yet? I don't. But I know a lot of people have been telling me, and then I have friends that are gamers, girls as well. Yeah. So I'm like, this could be really cool. Like, this might be interesting. So I don't know. Why not?
Yeah,
Why not?
I know. In Twitch, you can go live. I can promote my music too. Like, I think everything goes hand in hand. And I think right now I think it'd be dumb if I wouldn't join everything that's going on right now, because, at first when people would criticize, like, oh, now she wants to act, or now she wants to this. And it's like, this is what I've been doing my whole life. The thing is that you guys don't know that because you met me as this. And I don't like being categorized or put in a box. Like, I think we come here, we all have multiple talents. Like, I like racing cars, like I love cars. And that's because my dad has been in the car business since I was little. So like, he would do donuts when we were like 4 years old, and like, we were all excited with adrenaline, So if tomorrow as a hobby, I want to go and drag race or whatever, then cool. Then like, I'll do that too, So like, I don't think that we should be limited, to doing anything we want to do. Like, I have a whole lifetime, hopefully, a whole lifetime to do everything
I love that.
we love.
There are, many creatives like yourself that, like myself included too, that, I love doing a bunch of different creative. I feel like creativity is transcends through different platforms. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Like if you're creative, like you could act, you can sing. I mean, granted, I don't act or sing, but there are other funnels that I feel like just, coincide and connect. A lot of parallels.
Yeah. No, they all kind of go hand in hand, and they all help each other out in some way. You know, that's why. And you know what, for me, it's like, I want to do it all, but I think all kind of helps each other.
Man, I couldn't agree more with you. Like the fact that it all helps each other out. Like
it all connects.
It all connects. That's so true. I mean, there's been people in my life throughout my career that were like, you should stick to this. You should stick to only that. Yeah. When I went from radio to TV, my bosses would be like, you should just stick to radio. You should just stick to one thing. Mando, I don't know why. And I mean, now thinking about it, it's like, I would never tell that to someone.
No. I think what the right thing to say, I could probably say, and I would apply it to myself, is you could do it all, but do one thing at a time or something. Just because, like, if right now I would have came out here and I would have wanted to be a host, an actress, a singer, a dancer, all at once, I would have not executed any of them, because I wouldn't be giving my all to anything, And I think, like, in order to succeed in something, you have to put your all in something,
Right.
Which is why, like, right now, I just focused on music because I felt like when it was acting, I was just focused on acting and social media. And when it was social media, that takes a lot of your time as well, you know? So I think it's not about not doing everything. I just moderately doing it, you know, so you give it yourself enough time to grow and learn and really dedicate to that thing. Because right now, if you wouldn't be giving your all to the podcast and to your show, then it probably wouldn't succeed.
Right.
You know, so it's like, I think it's about everything. It's like knowing the timing of things, you know, and that's exactly how I've been able to like little by little do everything. But, and even so, sometimes I'm like, okay, maybe I should be dedicating more time to this or, you know, or whatever. But
I think there's, you know, in that sense, we have to focus on certain things, you know, but to tell someone, no, you should only do this. Yeah. You should only do that. I feel like that's such a selfish thing to tell someone. And granted, 100%. I feel like some of the people that were telling me were my higher ups that possibly, yes, they were being selfish. They didn't want me to do other things aside from whatever roof I was doing for them. Yeah. You know, but still, like, you don't tell someone, especially, you know, a young person. I was maybe like 18, 19, 20 maybe. And they're like, stick to one thing. And I'm like, no, I love this. I love that. Stick to this, to and only this. And I'm like, that's not a way to, especially now. Like you have to, I almost feel like you have to be multifaceted today. Yeah.
You know what's crazy? I had a podcast idea. We were talking off the show and you know, at first I was like, well, are they going to see me as more of a host now? Is it going to be confusing? And then I saw Becky G did like a podcast, you know, I think it had to do with makeup or something, like nothing to do with the music, you know? And then I saw other artists doing their own thing too, or it's Know the Product, like doing podcasts. And I'm like, you see, like you could do anything. Because at the end of the day, it all goes hand in hand and like everything kind of connects. So if you're acting, you're telling a story. Yeah. If you're doing music, you're also telling a story, a part of a story. So either way, no matter what you do, it's still like kind of go hand in hand, you know? So, and if you're talking on a podcast, you're still talking, you know what I mean? You're talking about something. So,
and you're still telling a story.
As well. So I just feel like at the end of the day, they all, you know, synchronize and they all kind of go together. So for me, I don't think there's no limit. And I think I've said this before in other interviews, like I don't limit myself at all because I don't know. What if the least thing that you expect is what succeeds? Like you just never know, you know? So, but like I said, I think everything is moderately in its time, you know?
You have to be open. I think today you have to be open to try new things. You have to be open to people in your ear telling you to not do something. I was driving this past weekend, Leli, and I got emotional because I was thinking I was driving in I just got my new car.
Oh, nice.
And I've been thank you. And I got emotional because it's been a journey. It's been a just, you know, you when you're driving sometimes you get into these thoughts, right? Like,
oh my God,
start thinking about random things. And I was just thinking about my journey up until like that moment of me driving a vehicle that I've been dreaming of driving, you know, for years. And I started thinking about how difficult it's been and how many people have stood in front of me so that I don't get to my destination, right? Obstacles have been endless. And it just hit me, you know, where I was like, man, the amount of people, the amount of obstacles that have stood in front of me, and I have still been able to
I'm getting emotional as you say.
To overcome.
I relate. No, I know.
It's heavy.
Very heavy.
It feels, and there were happy tears, right? Yeah. I was just thinking like, man, like I've done this. Yeah. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Have you experienced something like that?
I have, and you know what? It really was when I booked the Nikki Jam series. Yeah. You know, because I had done I did one movie with Romeo Miller, and I remember it was on my birthday. He called me, and he's like, "Hey, so I have a birthday gift, whatever." And I'm here thinking like it's like a regular birthday gift, and we had been friends for years. He has seen my growth like through social media and all that, and I actually met him because of my roommate. Like went on a date with him one day, and then like the first day he met me, he's like, you're going to be a star one day. And he actually posted it. This was I was 18. So 2016, I think it was, or 2015. He posted it. And then years later, like, he was like seeing me all do these things. And he called me. He's like, I think I have a role for a movie I'm doing with my dad, Master P. And I was like, what? I'm like, I started crying and I was like, what? Whatever. So we did the movie and that was a big deal. But really, it wasn't until like the Nicky Jam series that I felt like, damn, this is huge. This is on Netflix. Like, it's in Spanish.
Yep.
You know, I to this day, I mean, I saw it the other day and I was like, damn, like, this was a big thing for me. Like, it opened so many doors. And I remember, like, I was on set and that's when I felt it. I remember I was throwing paper balls into the trash can, because people don't know, like, when you're on set, you're there in those trailers for a really long time before your scene comes up. And then surprisingly, all my scenes were like one take. And I was like, damn, I'm this good because they're one take. And
That's
I'm like,
amazing.
So it was cool, but I was very much in my trailer most of the time. And I was throwing, like, from the little bed, I was throwing like paper balls into the trash can, and I was just so happy. I was like, wow, like, I have my own trailer. I was like, you know how many days like I wished for this, and I was like praying for this and my name on it, and like, you know, getting my hair done, whatever. And then it happened again when I was doing my first music video. Or no, it wasn't my first, it was my second music video. And I was like, oh, like, this is so dope. Like, I would have never thought, because I remember I was on set for Ariana Grande and Nicki Minaj and Jessie J's video as an extra. And I remember they had moved me from the front because I was upstaging one of the artists and I was pissed. And I was like, damn, you know, from being like some like extra dancer, whatever, to music video, to doing my own video with like a camera on a grill or whatever, and like the whole thing. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, this is, you know, and I've had those moments a couple times, and it's just, it's overwhelming and it feels amazing. And mind you, like, right now, I'm still in the process. I'm still in the journey. And I always have said, I think the journey is going to be more exciting than when I actually make it. I feel like, because I don't feel like I've made it, obviously, yet. And, you know,
I'm going to pause you there. What's my favorite quote, Fred? Do you remember it?
The adventures in the journey.
Do you remember it?
The adventures in the journey?
No.
It kind of goes.
Almost, Fred. The joy is in the journey.
Yes. 100%. 100%. And I agree with that. Like, I definitely think the joy is in the journey, because I've had so much fun every time I put myself, like, it's a challenge. And I was looking at this interview that Dame Dash did, and he was saying, he's like, once you reach a goal or a challenge, like, what's your next goal? You know, like, you're always, you know, and it's not about like, we always want more. It's just like, there's a beauty in that. Like, when you challenge yourself and you want to do something bigger, when you want to do something, you know, at the end of the day, like, I want to leave this world with some type of message, with some type of legacy, or with something, you know, like, I want someone to be able to take in my story and like apply it, you know, like, I think that would be like, for me, my biggest like, it fills me up. It's not even when I do anything like, okay, cool, I did a show, or I booked a movie, or I booked a commercial, or I did a song. What really fills my heart is when a child, like 10 years old, 8 years old, because it's happened many times now, and there's nothing like that feeling when, especially a kid, you know, that, because I don't know why. I love kids, so I don't know if that has something to do with that, but I love when I've felt, you know, when a kid has come up to me and has literally told me, like, you're an inspiration, I want to be like you when I grow up, or like that, that just makes me like,
it's beautiful.
Oh, like, yeah, like, I want to be like that big sister. Like, that just makes me feel like I am a big sister. But I mean, I like that feeling of like someone being inspired by me, or like, I'm the reason why they want to like echar pa'lante, like they want to open their own business, or like they can do it too. Like, for me, oh my God, that fills my heart. Cause that just makes me feel like my hard work is inspiring someone to
making a difference.
To make a difference.
Yeah.
Exactly. Cause I don't feel like, I feel like there's so much room for all of us to do everything. Like, I don't see any competition. Like, even my friends, I've helped them out. I put them on. And sometimes, you know, we get betrayed or we get done wrong. And my mom's like, I don't get it. Why do you keep helping people? And I was like, I just love how it makes me feel.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not doing it because I want, you know, it's funny because the people you help are not even the people that give to you. It always comes in a different blessing. Like, it always comes in a different way. So for me, it's like, I'm not doing it because I want that person to help me. I just know it's going to come some other way. And I'm not doing it because I want something from them.
Man.
You know, like I had a cousin call me the other day, like drunk, you know, because she's like, I couldn't do this sober. And I hadn't talked to her in years. And she's like, I just want to say I'm so sorry. And I'm like, why? She goes, oh, because a couple years ago, you let me stay with you in LA for so long. And not once did I ever help you with like any bills, or not once did I get a job or anything. And you would help me like with your skits, and like you would put me on your skits and you introduced me to people. And I never valued that. And now that I'm older and now I've done that for other people and I've like felt like, you know, a certain way, now I understand how you could have felt. And now I'm so sorry. Like, you know, and I was like, you know what? I never even saw it like that. Like, I didn't even feel like you took advantage of me or like anything. Cause really I was just doing because I wanted to help out. Like I just, whatever I could help out with. Like, and if anything, you kept me company because I was in LA by myself. So it was good to have family, you know, there. So I never did it with the intentions of like, oh, is so-and-so gonna do this for me now? Or like, never was like that. And it's still never like that. Like now with my friends, like when I've been able to help them book a show, or I had a friend of mine that we were auditioning for the same show, and she actually ended up booking one of like the main roles, you know? Now once was like, oh, I helped her out and she got the role and I didn't. Like, no, like there's room for all of us. That just wasn't meant for me.
Right.
You know? And for me, like when they call me and they're like, oh, we want to book you for so-and-so. And let's say I can't that day, or I just don't, you know, they're like, oh, I could just be like, no, thank you. Like, I'm sorry. No, every time I'm like, you know what? I can't, but I think I know someone that could.
Yeah.
Like, why would I not want to put my people on? You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I don't care. Like, I want to be able to live on the hottest street. All my friends live in mansions. All my friends have nice cars. Like, why does it have to be just me? Like, I don't believe in that. Like, if I win, I want my friends to win too. So I don't find like, you know what I mean? So, and again, like I said, I don't see it as like, oh, I'm doing this because, you know, I want something in return. Like, definitely not. It just makes me feel good to be able to like be that person, because at some point I had some people help me, you know, too. So it's like, why wouldn't I want to help? And for me though, too, it's just about like hard work. Like if I see people really grinding and working, like it's not like it's going to be a handout like here, because I know it hasn't been like that for me. Yeah. But I really do like love to see people like really like put in work, because that's what got me to do a couple, you know, the things that I've done, and I mean the things that I still have to do, you know. So if I can be that person that like can help somebody, then of course. I
feel like I tweeted this the other day. I tweeted, I'm here to champion others, because and I feel like you're the same way. You know, I want people to, I want them to also be winning. I want people to shine. You know, I want 100%. People have, like you said, people have looked out for me. They've given me opportunities. Yeah. And when I win, my team wins. Exactly. You know, and when they win, you're right. Sometimes we think, oh, hey, I'm gonna help Fred. Fred better help me. Yeah. But it might not even come from Fred. Yeah. It might come from Marvin. It might come from Leli. Yeah. It might. So it's that's the way to think. And you know what, up until you saying that, like I hadn't really put too much thought into it, because sometimes we do help people and we do get done wrong. Yeah. And we're like, oh man. Some people do say, well, you should stop helping people. Yeah. But that's not in our character to do so. Yeah, it isn't. And I think in general, like, you know how everyone's always like, what's your purpose in life or whatever. And I think really like, we don't come into this world with a manual, right? We don't come here knowing what we want to do or what we're going to do or what we're good at. You know, we just kind of go as we go. Yeah. And there's really no right or wrong. So I just feel like in general, what I've came down to, and especially during the pandemic, I think that's where it came down for me. It was like, we're really here to just help out each other. You know, like everyone's on their own journey. Everyone is experiencing different things. And I think it all comes down to helping out each other. Like, I think that's what it is. Because every time as our generation grows and as it evolves, really we're just learning from our ancestors and then learning our own things. Because sometimes like my mom says like, well, my mom doesn't think that because, you know, people that are older always think they know it all, you know. But now she's starting to understand like she can learn from me, I can learn from her. Yeah. Like as I'm growing, there's certain things that I'm going to know that she might not know. Even though she's older doesn't mean that she knows it all, or same with me. Like I think I learned things from my little brother and my little cousins, you know. So like I think that's what we're all here for, because we're all in our own journeys. Like me and my brother could grow up, we grew up exactly the same, yet we're so different, completely different people. So with that said, like we all are on our own
path, our own journey. And that's, at the end of the day, the only thing we can do with that is help other people out with what we already know, you know? So.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. I want to transition to the music world that you've entered, that you're great at.
Thank you.
Well. We connected through Jesse Torero, who is a star in his own right, you know, directing music videos and creating, you know, films as well.
Yeah, and shows.
For many, many years and shows. How did you start a relationship with Jesse? And I know he's
my
your
manager.
management team now.
Yeah, he's my manager. So basically, that's a funny story because like I said, I was grinding. I was already on social media and doing the whole thing. I did a lot of videos too that were kind of like Dominican driven, you know? And I remember when I started following him, he started following me back, and I would see him at events here and there. So I auditioned for like so many projects of his, you know, that I wouldn't get the part, that didn't go with like me. Or whatever. So then I ended up going to the Nicky Jam show audition because of my mom. My mom was the one that actually got me that opportunity through people that she obviously knew from back in the day and whatever. And the audition was actually for her, but then she suggested me, and they saw my Instagram and they loved it, and they're like, oh, I didn't know your daughter like acts and like was kind of Instagram famous at that moment. And then I already had like a series that I had done on social media that, you know, went viral, and we even like got nominated for and won some awards for. So basically I was doing my thing. So I ended up doing this audition, and I remember Jesse calls me and he's like, we're considering you for the Nicky Jam sister role. I mean, no, for the sister role. I'm here thinking that, and mind you, he's talking to me in English. So I'm here assuming that it was for one of the projects that I had auditioned for. So I'm so confused, and I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. I'm like, I think it was a pilot, you know, that I had auditioned for. So I was like, all right, whatever. And then a month later, he's like, oh, we picked you. The show's gonna be on Netflix, whatever. And I was like, wait, Netflix? Like, I'm so confused. What are you talking about? Because I didn't know. And to this day, I remember I was in my room and I was pacing. I was like, wait, Netflix? Like, what the heck? So he's like, yeah, so it's the Nicky Jam show. And I was like, that's your show? I had no idea that was his show that he was directing and that he was producing. So when I booked this show, I remember I called my mom crying, and I was like, you're never gonna believe, like, this is actually just, so he ended up booking me because he had seen me in so many roles that he just felt like I could take on this one. I didn't even audition for the sister role. I had auditioned for the mom role, the young mom. And when I went into the audition, I saw everyone that kind of looked more like my mom than me. And I was like, I'm definitely not getting this. Like, I'm not getting this role, you know, because it didn't look like it went with me. So I guess because of that, I was so like relieved and like not even a little bit of nervous, nothing. I was just acting and like doing me. And that's what got me the role, because I was just very authentic. And I don't know, and the nerves weren't there because I really believed that was not for me. I was like, damn, I'm not getting this. Like, I saw everyone in there and I was like, this is not my role. Like, I'm not getting it.
Yeah.
But I was like, whatever. I had flown to Miami. I had auditioned twice. I had auditioned in LA and in Miami. So I was like, at this point, I was like, whatever, I'm here. So then when he called me, he's like, you know, it really called my attention that you were like in both auditions, like LA and Miami. It was like, we had location auditions and you were in both. On top of the fact that every time I sent you on audition, it was like moments later, like hours later, you already were off script and you were there and whatever. So he's like, called my attention. We approved it with Nicky Jam, and you're in. Cool. So after the process, first of all, on set, it was all one take, like everything, every time they would last hours with everyone else. And with me, it was like one take. And I'm like, and I would like, are you sure?
Yeah,
like, should we do this again? I can do it again. Like, you know, whatever. And I actually wanted to do it again too, because I was like, oh, maybe I should say it more like this. And then on top of the fact that on the spot, they told me that I had to be Puerto Rican. Like, I had to have the Puerto Rican accent. And I didn't know that because the role was half Dominican, half Puerto Rican. So I was like, I can sound Dominican, it's fine. But once I got there, one of the other directors that were there were like, no, she grew up in Puerto Rico, so she sounds more Puerto Rican. And I was like, okay, cool. So, you know, it was so I think, I don't know, like everything flowed, everything was amazing. On set, a lot of the actors on that show were more singers. They were more artists. Like Dalkiel, who played Nicky Jam, was more of an artist. It was the first time acting. And then most of like everyone actually on the show, most of them were singers, like John Zeta, Rafa Pavón, like De La Ghetto, Mickey Woods. Like everyone there was a reggaeton artist, like mostly. So I meet all these people. I meet Nicky Jam's producer, who's Gio. His name is Gio. And nothing, like basically when I was supposed to get paid, Jesse was like, oh, can you connect us to your management team so we can pay you and whatever? And I'm like, I don't have a management team. Like, I am my management team. In that moment, though, I had already filmed the movie with Romeo. I had done a movie for BT, and I had done like a couple things here and there. I did this thing for like Disney Channel, very small role, but whatever. So, and obviously I would post all my stuff on social media. So, and he followed me. So he's like, wait, how are you working? Like, I don't get it. Like, how have you been working? I was eligible for SAG, but I hadn't, and because of all my extra work, but I hadn't like actually applied. Yeah. And the show, the Nicky Jam show was non-union. So he's like, I'm confused. How have you been working? I was like, honestly, I pretend to have a manager.
I just sneak into sets.
I was like, I sneak in. I'd never told him that story, but I was like, I am Brandon on emails, and I have replied to everyone through emails like I'm someone else.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. So like a couple weeks later, he reaches out and he's like, you know what? I want you to come by the office and we want to offer you like management. Mind you, he doesn't manage anybody. So I'm like blown away because I'm like, damn, Jesse's a really big director, producer. Like, you know, he's worked with thousands of people throughout his lifetime, you know, so throughout his career. So I'm like, the fact that he wants to manage me and I'm the only person that like he would start managing, I'm like, this is, you know, but Lexi, which is his sister-in-law, had like a kind of manages like influencers and whatever, had like all these like marketing and brand deals, and she was the one that started like Hispanicize. So he kind of made sense that he can bring in like his team from Cinema Giants and help out, because he's like, I don't want to take away from what you're doing. I want to add to what you're already doing. In that moment though, he did not know, because after the whole Nicky Jam show, I had started doing music. Now the way music comes in is because I was hanging out with Romeo Miller's like friends, and one of his friends, his name is T. Coles. He's done a lot of things for like Jeremiah or Chris Brown or different like artists. And one day I was always designated driver for everything when we would go out, because I didn't drink at all. I was already like 21 or 22, but I just didn't like drinking. So every time we would go out, like, Leli drives. Okay, cool. So I was driving and he's like, oh, you know Spanish. I think I want to show you a song that I've been working on, but it's in Spanish. So I'm listening to it and whatever. And it's funny because that day I had like a raspier voice. I have a raspy voice, but it was a little bit more raspy because we went out and it was like 4:00 in the morning. And he's like, have you ever tried singing? And I was like, I don't know, you know, like whatever. And I had this thing called Monologue Mondays in that moment, where I would post like monologues or like poems, but I would talk so fast that it sounded like I was rapping. And he's like, because I've heard you rap. It was in Spanish. It was both Spanish and English. He's like, I've heard you rap. And I was like, heard me rap? I was like, I've never rapped. I was like, you mean my Monologue Mondays? I was like, well, that is just me spontaneously being, you know, creative, and I like writing. The whole thing with writing too was like, I've always been very emotional. I'm very emotional, as you could tell. Like, I cry for everything. Very emotional. And when I was in those moments, I was going through like a weird phase. Like, everything was like right career-wise. Like, everything was amazing. Like, I was booking shows and I was, you know, social media famous and whatever. But like, I had focused so much on my career that like, I didn't really have a personal life. Like, it was just like work all the time, and everything was work. And then I started dating, and like, dating in LA was really weird, because it was like, no one's really trying to build anything or have like a serious relationship. And I'm not gonna lie, like, I kind of became like that too, because I was just focused on my career, and I'm like, I don't need any distractions. And I had left my 4-year relationship, you know, to come to LA and pursue my career, that I was like, I'm definitely not gonna get distracted now, you know? So it was weird, but me being emotional and being a girl and not really giving an opportunity to anyone, any guy that I would get close to, I would like really eventually want something more serious, and then I would end up getting hurt. So I started writing a lot. And then I even had a friend that like took the guy that I was with and whatever. And like, I don't know, like, I just went through a lot of stuff. So writing is really where I kind of leaned on to. And one day he tells me, he's like, I need, just come into the studio. Like, just come. And I remember it was September something of 2015 or 16. No, wait, no. Was it 2018? I think it was 2008. Wait, we're in 2022? It was 4 years ago. So
I know.
16.
Yeah, I know.
2016. September.
The pandemic got us all messed up.
I know. I'm so messed up. I was like, wait, it's been 2 years? Whatever. It's been like 4 years. But it was 2000. It was September. I remember it was September. And I come into the studio and I had no idea what to like say or do, but he wanted me to say something in Spanish. And he has no idea anything about Spanish. So he couldn't even write something for me. I've never heard myself on a mic or like recording, like nothing. I've never sang in public. Like I always sang to myself or like rapped to myself, you know, but in that time I was listening so much to reggaeton and like whatever and Becky G and, you know, and I remember I would do like my own covers at home of like Becky G songs or like in the moment it was Natina Tacha or like Karol G when she was starting or like when she was first popping off. And I was like, I could do this, like this kind of stuff. And I just need to find my voice or my tone. And he's like, you need to take advantage of your raspy voice. Like, I think it would really like, whatever. So I got in there and the first day it was so scary. I was like, oh my God. I was like, press record and then leave the room and like, just leave me by myself. Like, let me see what comes out, you know? And I did a song that I did. It's called No Me Uses. Again, me being so like, I already knew in that moment I should have known, but it's called No Me Uses, which already sets the tone of what kind of artist I was going to be. Why? Because after that, I dwelled so much in songs of like desamor, like not breakup, because I don't think I'm not the Spanish Taylor Swift, but definitely because, you know, Taylor Swift sings literally to like breakups, right? To me, it was more like I hated that every time I felt used or like I felt like they didn't treat me right or they didn't value me. It was more of like I dwelled into work or like, you know, into like me. That's when literally it was like fuel for me to really be like, oh, you did this to me. Watch when I do this. Like it was always like I always felt like that was gonna be mi venganza. Like that was gonna be my revenge. Yeah. It wasn't getting another guy. It wasn't. No, for me it was like being a better version of myself. Like the moment I was like, oh, you did me wrong. Oh, you don't know who you're messing with. Like it was always like that kind of attitude, you know. So I dwelled a lot into that, and in writing, it was really like I started writing. So like the music really came about because of writing. Like I just started writing. And then thanks to the Nicky Jam show, I remember I had showed some stuff to Dalkiel on set, and then some of like the people on set and stuff like that. And Gio was someone that I had met. And it wasn't until like a year later, I got invited to Latin billboards as an influencer with a brand. And I saw Gio at one of the events. And like, obviously because I was like the face of this brand, like it was cameras everywhere and whatever. And even I felt like a whole artist. I was like, wow, okay. So like I did a show on Netflix and I'm like on Latin billboard on the carpet. Like
I'm popping right now.
Yeah, like I was like, oh, this is my moment. So I remember Gio was like, oh, like when are we getting in the studio? And I'm here like, how does he know I do music? Because in that moment, I really hadn't like said it out there. Like I was in the studio and doing things, but I really didn't put it out there. You know, in that moment, I wasn't ready. Like I wasn't ready to say that, you know? And it really took a time for me to really admit like, okay, this is what I'm doing, because I was scared. I was scared of what people are going to say, especially since it's not something that I grew up like. I always wanted to do it since I was little. And when I was little, I would actually imitate artists. Like that's what I did. I didn't even act as much. I did more music and dancing than actual acting, you know? But I guess in acting, I was so confident. I've always been very confident about that I was like, I don't care what people say. But with music, I think it's more personal, especially because I got into it in a more personal level. Like now I'm expressing what I feel. So if anyone kind of like says anything about it, I think I'm gonna be sensitive about it because this is actually me. Like this is now like, this is not a script. Like if I do a movie and it's trash, oh, it was the movie. The movie was trash, you know, or the role I got was trash. And that can happen to any actor, right? But like my music, like I have a say in that. So like, oh, like, you know.
It's way more personal.
It's way more personal. And I'm learning. And even now, like I still feel like I'm still learning. And nothing, he gave me the opportunity to work with him. He was super, you know, like excited about the project. And he's the one that actually produced Piensas, which is the first song that I released with the show Bravas that I was on. So basically after that, I went full blown Spanish. Like at that moment, because I was doing Spanglish at first. At that moment, I was like, no, I want to do Spanish music. And really for me, it was because I want to be, my identity is like, I'm Latin first, no matter what, like, you know, and although I grew up in Miami or in America, you know, I'm Latin, those are my roots. And I want to be able to represent that and represent Dominicans, you know, like Dominican American, that's like what I want to represent. So that's really where the music came out and I came from. And right now it's been a journey. And the great thing, honestly, is that every time that I've gone through anything, oh my God, it inspires. It's like, oh, this is the moment I need to take advantage. And I was like, at this point, I'm like, I'm going to be like the female version of Drake. Because there's some songs where I take out my sensitivity, you know, and then there's times where I kind of want to front and like whatever. So I'm like, I'm definitely, if I can compare myself to anyone, because I'm also a big fan, it would be Drake, because I'm like that female, you know, version. And then also I want to be able to incorporate more of my dancing into it and stuff like that. But for now, it's just been a way to express what I want to express. And mind you, like, I think it's a process. And that's why I said earlier, like, I'm probably enjoying the process more than when I actually make it. And right now, like, you know, it took me a really long time to really consider myself an artist, or even admit, like, yeah, I'm an artist, or like even introduce myself as an artist. My mom would really, like 2 years back, my mom was like, I don't get it. People ask me, you always go to, I'm an actress. And I was like, well, that's because that's what I've grown to know my entire life. Like, that's what I considered myself. Even when I didn't book a show, I'm like, I'm an actress, you know, like that's what I do. But really, when I first moved to LA, I would never tell anybody I was an actress. Why? Because the moment you tell somebody you're an actress, they're like, oh, so what movie have you been? What show have you done? And in that moment, I was like, no. So, you know, so it's like, maybe I shouldn't say I'm an actress. So it was like, I would be at these like really dope events, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't say I'm an actress. So I was like, I'm in school, you know, I want to be. And then when they asked me, they're like, oh, so what are you studying? And I was like, production. Always. And they're like, really? You wouldn't want to be on camera? And I was like, no. Production. Why? Because I was like, until I don't book a show or a movie, I am not going to say I'm an actress, because people are going to expect you to. Now it was the same thing with as an artist. I didn't want to admit, oh yeah, I'm an artist or whatever. And be like, oh really? Can I find you on Spotify? I had no songs out, had nothing to showcase. And even now I'm like, I still kind of like, I'm an actress artist. Why? Because like there's certain things that there's still like a building. I'm in that building stage as an artist. You know, I still feel like I have to prove myself, you know, because at the end of the day, especially I think it's a little harder when you come with a following or with the background of something, because now people are like, how good really are you? You know, and people don't realize that even Bad Bunny, even Karol G, their first songs weren't good, you know? Yeah. Beyonce,
the
Rihanna.
Top of the top, yeah.
It comes with time. Right now, though, because I'm in the public eye already, or because they think they know me or whatever, they haven't allowed me to grow into my artistry, which is okay, because you know what? If it took me myself years still, because people don't know that I've been recording for years and that I've heard thousands of songs and done thousands of different fusions and different things. It took me a while to prove to myself that I can do this. Why wouldn't it take people time for them to see me that way? Yeah. So I've had to come to terms with that and understand that, which is why I'm like, I'm not worried. I'm like, that's okay, because it took me more than 20 songs and 20 things that I've done and you know, for me to really see myself as an artist. So like, I know it's going to take time for people to see me like that as well. So I'm okay. I'm like, I'm in for the journey. Like I'm okay with that.
You're enjoying the journey. I love that.
Exactly. And it's frustrating too, because people don't understand that you'll do a song and then it won't come out like a year later. Like FU came out now, but we did that back in like December of like last year, you know? Yeah. And then now the song that came out now, you know, we did that a couple months ago, but even so, like there's songs that I'm like dying for them to come out. I'm like, oh, you guys hear this one? And I'm sure that with time, as I grow and do more, I'm sure it's going to be like, oh, I can't wait till this comes out, or like, you know, but it's a process and I'm enjoying. I'm like, I'm okay with the journey of like, and the pace of how things are going, because it's only going to show my growth and how I'm evolving, you know? Yeah.
No, you're doing a great job too, Leli, honestly. Like, why is it important for you to represent your Latinidad?
I think because, you know, I mean, in general, just out of I'm very Dominican. Those are my roots. And I love being able to say that and represent that. And, you know, I'm proud of where I'm from, you know, so I want to be able to really carry that flag and carry that, you know, my background. Like that's how I grew up. And I want to be able to always, you know, like I'm Dominican American. Like I want to be able to represent that as much as I can, you know, and never forget that. So, and mind you, I didn't grow up in Dominican Republic. Sometimes people think like, oh, like she grew up. No, I never, but I do go a lot. And like I said, like I grew up very Dominican, my family, my roots. And, you know, I want to be able to bring one day like that Grammy or whatever to my country. Like that's dope. Like, you know, so I think,
and you will.
Yeah.
And
so
you
that's
will.
like,
we got to put it out in the universe. I tell our guests all the time that there have been guests on the show that say, oh, I want to collaborate with this person. Oh,
and then it happened?
I want to book a big, you know, feature film. And it happens. Sometimes it happens within a few weeks.
Ooh, I'm coming back to this interview a couple years from now.
Yes.
Be like, I said this. Yeah.
Not a couple years, maybe
less.
Sooner,
yeah, you never know. These kind of things really do. And you know what's funny? Now that you say that, people think that you blow up from a date like de la noche a la mañana, like it just happens like that.
Oh, man.
But it really doesn't. Because see, right now, for example, like I really only have 3 songs out, right? Yeah, I've been recording for like 4 years. So, you know, people don't know how much time, and mind you, okay, I've been recording for 4 years. but I've been in the industry and working my butt off for like years, you know?
Yeah.
And really it just takes that one thing to just switch it off and that just take off for you.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm in it for the long run.
What's the dream collaboration for you, or collaborations?
I have like five. Number one would be, I would want to do a movie with her though. And it would be J-Lo.
Nice.
I want to do a movie with her. Oh, if I could, I had an opportunity, like an audition, and it was, I didn't get it. I was like, damn. But yeah, I would want to do a movie with her. But music wise, I want to do songs with Romeo Santos, Drake, for sure. Bad Bunny, Raúl Alejandro, Karol G. Like, I mean, I have a list. I have a whole list of people
I
that I
think you
want
said
to work
five.
with.
Yeah, she's already named like
Yeah,
seven.
like seven. No, there's a whole bunch. I'm a big fan of a lot of artists, and I admire a lot of, you know, what they've done for themselves and stuff like that. So, and I'm inspired by a lot of them. So, you know, if I could collaborate with any of them,
Yeah, I mean,
it would
look,
be
your work
amazing.
ethic is there, and
Yeah.
the talent is as well.
Thank you. It
It's-
takes time, but you know what?
It's a
For
matter
me,
of time. Yeah.
I think right now, like, you know, eventually, like, people, I mean, it's just, that's how it works, I guess. You have to collaborate to be able to really, like, you know, because that's when people kind of, like, give it to you. You know, it was just like social media. Like, it wasn't until I collaborated with certain influencers that it really, like, I blew up. So it's going to be the same thing with as, you know, with music. But I think that for right now, I want to build an identity. Like, I want my songs to kind of all have, like, a, you know, like,
Be cohesive.
yeah, because right now, like, if I keep on releasing, then people will get the idea of what kind of artist, what kind of message I'm trying to transmit. And eventually, when I collaborate with a big artist or whoever I collaborate, I want people, when they go and like check me out, they're like, oh, she's dope, and I like this, and I like that, and I get it now. Like, I get what kind of, you know, because like, for example, when everyone has like their thing, like if you look Anita, you think Brazilian funk, and you think, you know, and the hype music, or J Balvin or whatever, Bad Bunny, like they have a certain type of music that you know what you're gonna get when you listen to them, right? You know, Romeo Santos tells stories, and it's bachata, and it's like this. So I want to be able to build, you know, what kind of genre I'm doing, what kind of style I'm building, and stuff like that. So then eventually, when I collaborate, I'm not like this lost artist that's just like, oh, one hit wonder, or like,
what do I do now?
or what do
Like,
I do now?
Yeah.
Exactly. So I have a very clear message that I want to stick to, mostly because I feel like a lot of women, especially in our generation, and like, you know, around my same age group and stuff like that, kind of go through the same thing.
Yeah.
But we're very empowered women. Like, a lot of us, you know, we're in an era where like women have their own businesses and they're doing their own thing, and they don't really need a man. They want a good man, you know, and there's a difference, because when you don't need someone, you're there because you want to be there. But there's certain things that we won't tolerate, you know, so, and that's hard to understand. So there's certain things that need to be said, and I just want to be able to express that throughout my music. And it's gonna, and I'm still trying to actually find the ways to even say it and express myself the right way.
Yeah.
But that's what I want. I want women, you know, around my same age group, or just in general, to be able to relate, because we all go through it at some point in our life, you know. So I just want to be able to be that person, you know. And I'm glad that people like Karol G have paved the way and kind of opened those doors for us, because she definitely is someone that I can say that right now is tapping into those topics and those kind of songs that I could say like, oh, I wish I would have said it like that, or she couldn't have said it any better. So I think that's the kind of, like, you know, like the goal.
How is it when it comes to writing music for you? Is it easy? Is it, I know, you know, because you're personal with it. Is it heavy sometimes? Do you get emotional? Or you know, do you cry when you write sometimes?
Well, I did a song like a couple weeks ago that I cried before my session, because I had no idea how I was gonna express it. But I had so much inside that I wanted to express, and I was really going through it, that when we did it, I had people help me write, because obviously sometimes, you know, at the beginning I used to write a lot of my stuff, but now, like, most of the songs that I'm doing, like, I have people help me write, because sometimes, like, we don't have the right words to even express, you know. And sometimes it's like when you can give good advice, but you can't give yourself those advice. So it's kind of like that. It's kind of like,
it's
I know what I'm feeling.
Collaboration.
It's collaboration. So I know what I'm feeling, but I don't know how to express it. It's a lot of the times I get like that writing blockage, but and I always have someone help me out. And the last song that I did, it was that I put all my emotions in. It's because I really felt heavy about the situation. And we did such a good song. Like, I'm so excited about that. I know it's probably not going to come out anytime soon because that's just how it works. But I felt it so much because it was so real to me. Like, I was really going through that, you know? And in that moment, I was like, this is exactly what I was doing music for. Like, if I had forgotten, then this is exactly what it was, because whatever I was going through served its purpose. And its purpose was to write about it, you know, and express it in those emotions and exactly the way that I wanted and the way that I was feeling. And I think that's what it really is about. And honestly, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, there's some songs, like, for example, Nunca Le Bajo, which is the one that we just released. That one was just a fun song. Like, that day, I remember we got in there and I was like, I just want something fun. Like, it doesn't have to have too much word, doesn't have to be so much the message. Like, let's just have fun with it, you know? And it was one of those songs, you know. There's some days that we just don't know what to really do, and it was just like, let's just have fun with it, or let's see what comes up. I don't like to plan it too much. I like to just go off the vibe of the day, you know, whatever I'm feeling. Although there's some days that, like, oof, like, I'm having one of those hard days. Like, my cousin committed suicide like 2 months ago.
Oh,
and
man. Sorry to hear that.
No, it's okay. And that day I had a session that I could not cancel. And it was so heavy. I was like, oh, like, all I could, like, write about is what I wanted to talk to him about, you know?
Yeah.
And eventually, like, it was so emotional that I was like, you know what? Like, I'll let you guys, like, write about something, you know, I'll leave it up to you. And I was working actually with Piso 21. And they wrote a song that had nothing to do with what I was feeling, but I put so much emotions of what I was really feeling into the song. And the song was something about, like, La Última Vez or something like that, but it wasn't about someone dying. It was actually about a relationship or something, and how, like something about, like, let this be the last time or whatever. Like, let's enjoy ourselves, even if it's for the last time or something like that. But I put so much of my emotions of what I was feeling about something else that had nothing to do with the song, that the song, honestly, like, it might be one of my best songs, and I don't know when it's going to come out. You know, we're probably going to wait for the right time. But really, it's like that. It's just about putting my emotions and what I'm feeling and applying it, even if it's not the same topic, you know? And you know, so like I said, right now, I'm kind of just going off the vibe of what we feel that day. And when I collaborate with different people, we bring out different things, you know? And I want to, right now, what I'm trying, though, is to keep very, very Latin, very, like, I'm adding a lot of, like, guitar and, like, merengue into my songs, because I want to be able to bring out that Dominican. Like, I want to be able, when I go and perform, I want to be able to dance, like, you know, my music, you know?
For it to be a vibe, for it to be, like,
a vibe,
good energy. Is music therapeutic for you?
Yeah.
Creating music.
Oh my God.
Therapy for you?
At this point, it has been my therapy.
Yeah.
Like, I've never taken therapy, but I'm not gonna lie. Like, every time I'm feeling heavy or, like, confused or lost, the moment I get into a studio and I leave, it's, like, refreshing. It's literally like I just went into a retreat and then I came out, like, you know, because for me, like, especially when I meet new producers or writers or whatever, I go in there and I'm an open book. I don't care. I was like, I don't care if they know my relationship status. I don't care if they know who I'm dating, what I'm doing. I don't care. Like, I'm gonna let it all out. And then when I do, as I'm talking, I almost, like, realize what is wrong. It's so weird. It's like I spoke about it. And sometimes when we're in our heads, when we keep it to ourselves, there's so much going on in our heads that we can't figure out what's going on. Like, we get so, like, trapped in our heads, and we're like, why am I feeling this way? And sometimes I'll pray about it, and I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, a couple of days ago, I was praying, and honestly, I had nothing to say. Like, I just was like, God, and then I was like, and I started crying, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on in my head right now. Like, clear my head, you know? And I guess as I speak about it is when it clears my head, it clears my mind. So a lot of the times it has been very therapeutic for me. Like, it's been like a release. So for me, I think that's where I have found, like, my peace.
Yeah.
It really has been. And it's been really weird because I would have never thought. Like, that's not something that I ever would have thought I was going to do. Like, I really liked it, but I thought I couldn't do it. I really did think that, because everyone would tell me, like, you have a raspy voice. You can't sing. You can't do this. You can't do that. And I'm like,
Watch
okay.
me.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really, like, I always thought, like, you need to, like, have, like, a Mark Anthony, like, voice, you know? And really, like, look at Drake. Look at, you know, it's like that singing, rapping, like, you know, and that is sexy. And I love it. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. And I have that. I've mastered that tone. Like, that tone works for me. Like, I could do that, you know? But honestly, it's been a challenge. And honestly, with time too, I've grown and have gotten more, you know, be able to develop that artistry inside me. And I only know it's going to get better with time.
Yeah. It's about, like, personality. It's about like
Charisma.
who you are. It's a lot of things. Like when I started in radio, what I knew of radio was you have to have a radio voice, right? And I
Yeah.
was like, I don't have a radio voice. I have the personality but it took me a while, and obviously you then, learn a few things here and there, how to
Yeah.
enunciate. I mean, like my early recordings, my early commercials in college radio
Yeah.
were horrible. Ni se me entendía nada. Like I was like, what did I just say there?
How do people understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's things that you learn, and I'm sure you've learned a lot of things.
Yeah, no, I'm not
in the
gonna
past
lie.
couple
Like
years.
enunciating, right? That's what you say.
Enunciating, yeah.
Such a weird word. That's one thing that has helped a lot with me too. And my Spanish, oh my God, because now I'm only doing things in Spanish that, like, I speak better Spanish now than I've ever have in my life. Because like I grew up Spanish, but I didn't go to Spanish school, or like I didn't learn how to read and write and all that. Like I think maybe I took like 2 years back to back in high school because I had to, as a
Your Spanish
elective.
is amazing.
But it's very good, and I'm impressed with myself. Like I'm like, oh,
And you speak it like
very
just
fluently,
super
very fast. No,
fluid.
and then I write it too very well too. And I'm like, how did this even? But you know what? Spanish though, writing is really easy because you kind of just, I think at least for me, because you just really spell out the way you say it. So it's easy, in English is where you have like the silent H or the silent whatever and the silent P, but like in Spanish it's kind of just the way you say it. So although sometimes I have to Google things, but I mean, whatever. Like I think I'm pretty good.
Now, this next section of the program is sponsored by Verizon. Verizon has partnered up with Oi Health to offer discounts and savings on telehealth services in tu idioma for customers and their families. And as you guys know, health, not just physical health, but mental health too, is so important. So for this next question, Leli, I want to ask you, how else do you take care of your mental health?
You know what's crazy? I have never struggled with mental health in my life, until now.
Oh.
No.
I was like, that's amazing. I was like,
No, let me tell you.
You are a rare breed.
No, until now. And I think it's because we get so much in our heads, and we want to be better and we want to be likable. And it goes back to what we started talking about earlier. And it's really about that. And like, that has been such a struggle for me. Like mental health has been such a thing that I'm like, I've never suffered with this. Like I've never had mental health issues. I've always been secure of myself. I've always done what I want to do and walked in the room and owned it and didn't care. Now, all of a sudden, I'm like, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if they say this? What if this comes out wrong? And like, I don't know why I've gotten so much in my head. And really the only thing that has calmed me down is just meditating and praying. I've gotten so close to God and so spiritual. I don't think I've ever, like I grew up Catholic, right? But, I always believed in God. I remember when I was living in the hood in LA, I remember praying to God, like, please get me out of here. Like, let me find an apartment. I didn't have much credit. So I was like, how am I going to get an apartment on my own? And, my dad had cut me off because I stopped going to school for a while. So like, it was a lot, but I remember I dwelled a lot on God. So I know God has always had my back, and but it wasn't until the past 2 years that I've actually built a relationship with God and really dwelled on it and became very spiritual and just depended on him, really. Like honestly, in those toughest times, like I said just a couple days ago, like when I was really feeling heavy and down and confused,
Yep.
I was just like, God, please, like clear my head. Like I don't know what is going on. And I think it's just because we're living in really weird times.
We are.
We're living in really weird times. Like I remember a couple years ago, any little thing I would do, I remember I would get celebrated, and it was like, wow, congrats. Now you do anything, and everyone is so caught up in their own life and going through really heavy things that as much as people want to be happy for you, they can't.
Yeah.
People are just not in a good, so then that makes you feel like, damn, people don't care that I'm like I did this. Like, so then that kind of does something to you too. And it's like, It's not like you're doing it for the people, but it feels good when people like congratulate you or when people support you. But it's different now. It's different. Like even celebrities aren't like how celebrities were or like looked up to how they were. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like life is not the way it used to be, Yeah. Even events like you go to Coachella or you go to concerts and like the energy isn't like it used to be either.
Man.
Or even like I've gone to clubs to be able to promote my music, whatever. Clubs are so empty compared to how it used to be. Like people would actually celebrate.
Like pre-pandemic you're talking about.
Yeah, like the pre-pandemic, before the pandemic, life was different. Like people would go out and celebrate and everything was fun. Now it's like, no, Like, it's not like that at all, So that has done something for me. And like, again, like for me, the only thing that I've been able to dwell on is meditating more and trying to connect with myself, do things that I actually really like, being around family. I mean, I moved back to Miami during the pandemic, so I'm definitely around more family. Um, but trying to be creative and driven has been the biggest challenge for me. The biggest challenge for me, especially because I came from a world where like we were creative every day, that we were creating content, and we were around people that were supportive and helping you and making your ideas better. But I moved back to Miami, and now it's been a challenge because everything's myself, and like I've had to be creative on my own and be motivated on my own. And it's like, it's not every day that we're gonna wake up motivated and inspired and wanna like, echarle gana and like keep going. Like it's especially when you've been doing it for a long time and like many years, you're like, oh. And then when you've had like the little taste of success too, and then it doesn't feel like you're there, you're like, oh, like I know what it feels like. Can I come back to that feeling? But really, like for me, it's just been like again, trying to see a vision, trying to stick, like, because for me, it's like I have that vision of like where I see myself, and I'm like, I know this is just, I have obstacles right now, and I'm gonna have things down the road. It's okay, like it's only gonna get better with time. And these are the moments where like I really have to like believe in myself and really like seguir adelante, like really like go for it, because this is what's gonna either tear me or help me move forward. So like I have to, so for me, it's like I made a promise to myself, like this is not for anybody, this is for myself. And at the end of the day, I have two choices: either not do anything and then 10 years from now regret it, or just keep going. Like, what do I have to lose? So I'm like, that's just,
Man, I feel that.
I'm going to be 30, I'm going to be 40, I'm going to be 50 regardless. So I might as well do what I love,
now.
And do it now.
And enjoy the journey.
Exactly. Because all I think about when I talk with my grandma, and I tell her, and she probably hates, she's not going to understand it because this is in English. But I told my grandma, I was like, oh, like you haven't lived enough. I want to be 60 or 70, and I want to be telling my great grandkids like, oh, the amazing life I had, So if I'm gonna reach 60, if God, si Dios lo permite, if I'm gonna be reach 60, I want to, reach 60 and have a story to tell, and a life that I didn't regret, and that I lived to the fullest. So, like at the end of the day, when you go to El Campo, like when you go to the farm, and like, for example, my country, when I go to the farm and I see people that like all they worry about is like the food they're gonna eat, right? And they have no worries. They have no social media. There's like no service, and they don't have any worries in the world. I'm like, what if I lived here?
Yep.
What if I lived here and I could not do anything, right?
Or what if you were given those cards? Like what if you were born and your family worked in El Campo? Like I think about that stuff all the time too.
Yeah.
How we're in a sense
how different our life would be.
And we're privileged
and we're
at the end of the day.
Exactly. Like that's really what it comes down to. Like when I go to those places, it humbles me so much. And I'm like, if I were here, I wouldn't have been able to do half of the things that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So why am I limiting myself? Why am I getting down if something didn't, like if I failed at something, or if something didn't go my way? Like why am I gonna allow that to stop me? No, like that's what's gonna, I have to aprovechar, like I have to take advantage of the opportunities that I have, the reach that I have, and just go for it. And understand that not everything is gonna succeed. And from failure is where we learn from, So it's like, if I don't fail, then, if everything was just given to me, if I would just be successful at everything, then I wouldn't value it either.
Right.
So this is just part of the process, and that's okay. And I'm okay with that, But it takes a lot though to be okay with it. That's the thing.
Yeah. And if we fail, we fail fast.
Exactly. And it's just like starting over. But at least, like how people say, at least you're not starting from zero. You're starting from where you left off, you know? So.
Yeah.
And with experience.
I love that, Leli. I love your energy. All right, before I let you go, we have rapid fire.
Okay.
With Leli Hernandez.
Okay,
Ready?
so what is what is it? What's rapid fire?
You're about to find out.
Okay.
Good luck. She's like, what's about to happen?
Like, is this thing getting on fire?
If
what are you doing?
Yeah. If you answer incorrectly, your chair throws fire from
it ejects me out
underneath. Yeah. Okay, so it's either it's either this or that, right?
Okay.
Pretty quick. I try to answer as fast as you can.
Okay.
$1 million or 1 million followers. So $1 million, dollars cash right now, which Fred can hand you, that is under that box.
$1 million.
or a million followers.
$1 million.
$1 million.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, followers, I still am gonna reach people. Like, that's the goal. Like, if I did it one time, I can do it again. So, but I don't have $1 million, so I want $1 million.
Favorite Spanish word?
Qué rico.
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 Salsa or merengue?
Merengue.
Favorite piece of tech, like technology, that you use?
My phone.
Favorite Latino food dish?
Tostones.
Tostones are fire. Best song to play at a party?
Dakiti. Like, everybody knows that song.
Greatest rapper of all time?
I like Nas.
Nas. Best singer of all time?
Say Beyonce. I like that.
Beyonce.
Yeah.
And lastly, what's a nickname of yours that no one really knows about?
I don't have one. It's just Leli. That is my nickname.
What's your full name?
Will Haley's.
What is it?
Will Haley's.
I want to get...
Exactly. Will Haley.
I want to get it right.
No, trust me.
I wanna get it-
This has happened my entire life.
I wanna get it right.
It's spelled with a G. So it was always Wiggleless, Widgeless. It was horrible growing up. So Leli's literally my nickname, but it's my artist name. It's everything because...
We'll say it one more time.
Haley's. Will Haley's.
Will Haley's.
Will Haley's.
Did I say it right? Will Haley's?
Well, you said Haley's, but it's Haley's. Will Haley's.
Will Haley's. Will Haley's. I love
Yeah,
that's
they
such a
killed me with
beautiful
that
name,
one.
though.
No, it you know what it is? Like, everyone's like, "Are you gonna change it?" I was like, "I'm not gonna change it because my mom gave me that name and I love it. But I only like it when I say it. Like no one's ever been able to say it. My mom doesn't even call me by my name. She calls me Leli. Like, everybody's called me Leli. Like, that's just, but Will Haley's is my name. And I mean, it's dope. But even at graduation, I was like, say Leli, please, because no one knows how to say it. They always would either say Wiggleless, Wildulous, like the Wiggles. Like, no, I'm good.
Definitely not the Wiggles.
I was like, no, this is not it. No. So Leli. So that's my nickname,
I
actually.
love that. Well, Will Haley's.
Yes.
Did I get it right? Kinda?
You did get it right. He's like, yeah.
I appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. You're who was it? Was Tonio Skits that told
Yeah.
you you're a star?
No, it was
And
Romeo. It was Romeo Miller. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure Tonio at one point, thought it.
Yeah. No, I'm sure.
You're those guys are right, and
Thank you.
you're a star, and your light is only gonna get brighter, Leli.
Oh, thank you.
I'm
I have
so-
a new merch coming out, and it's like my mantra. And basically, it's when you ask me how do I stay positive and how I take care of my mental health. And basically, what I have written down is trust God's timing, never take anything personal, be loved, be light, be kind. And that's like what I live by. That's definitely what I live by, because I think that that's what keeps, you whole. Like, you don't take anything personal, trust God's timing, and just try to be light. We love, So I think that's way to live.
I love that. Thank you so much, Leli.
No problem. Thank you.
Leli, and thank you so much as well for watching and listening to Mando and Friends presented by Verizon.